You were saying our setup. You were saying our setup is professional.
I mean, so
as we get sound coming out through
well,
somewhere I'm completely unaware of.
I mean, it's funny. You look at this here, and talk about other gyms I've been to since I moved away from St. Louis and Gambit, and this is the most professional podcast setup any of the gyms had. If that makes you feel any better,
Yeah.
Because
well, a lot of gyms haven't bothered to have a podcast setup,
no,
so that helps.
They haven't. So they're still trying to figure out things like, well, some of the gyms I've been to are still trying to figure out how to clean the floor. So
yeah, sorry, I had an image up on the screen back there and it just went away. I'm not exactly sure how to get it back. How many gyms have you been to that have had a podcast set up?
Counting Gambit?
Sure.
1.
Okay. How many gyms have you been to?
So, been to or been a member of are two different things. So
Sure.
Coming from Gambit, when I moved to,
I'm going to say been to, because you travel. Well, let's start with this. We're kind of an intro. So let's start with what is your, like your job,
right?
And your,
yeah. So
like
so
your current like social situation.
So who am I, right? So
who is Jon Koehly?
Right. So your average Gambit member is going to tune into podcast 18 and look and be like, wow, did Sean gain weight? Who is that guy? But because so my name's Jon Koehly, and I was a member CrossFit Gambit for 6 or 7 years, I think it was, for a while, and from the early days to helping build the last location, and from that. So, but I work for the Hershey Company. That's so Brian Sullivan and I met at Gambit, and he was got me into the company, got me an interview and whatnot. So. And that's why I moved away. So like I said, I was a member here for about 6 or 7 years, and then moved to Memphis, Tennessee, a little over 4 years ago now, and was there for about 2.5 years. And my time there, I was at 2 different gyms, and one was CrossFit Memphis, and then I actually ended up in an Iron Tribe gym, which wasn't strictly speaking like CrossFit, but they do CrossFit movements. They were cool people, but they had a good vibe. They were really nice folk and all that, but it wasn't that strictly speaking CrossFit.
Yeah, but staying on you, because when I met you, you were you were our t-shirt guy.
Yeah,
basically, or you became our t-shirt guy after you joined the gym.
Yeah, I did that because I was. It started, so if you go way back, when I started CrossFit Gambit.
I want to go way back.
Let's go way back. It all started cold February 18th. So I was...
it was Mardi Gras.
Before I worked for Hershey, I worked for a company called Sports Print here in St. Louis. So they were, screen printing and, hats, embroidery, that type of thing. So I did that, and was actually bartending on the weekends still, because so I could kind of help make ends meet a little bit. So did that, and then started doing the t-shirts, and that actually kind of became my niche, and because of your help, it started expanding out to other gyms, and I did Black Legion stuff for a while. Good old Jeremy Pickett.
Yeah.
Shout out Jeremy Pickett. So I did all of that stuff, and and
then you got hired on Hershey.
I got hired on at Hershey,
and you worked still in
here in St. Louis.
St. Louis, which is so for like our current members and listeners, Brian and John worked together effectively in a sense,
right? Well,
or literally for a while.
For quite literally, I was Brian's direct report for like the last 6 or 7 months here. So it was nothing like coming to the gym.
And now you're out in.
Now I'm out in Boston. Boston, Massachusetts. So
yeah, it's
beautiful out there. So,
cool. And what brings you to town?
So we have a new hire. So the guy who does my job here in St. Louis is new, and so my boss is like, well, the market. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. You get to go there, get experience, help him on board and do all that. And you kind of get to come home and see your friends and family and have some Provel cheese. And
Are you Provel?
I am pro
cheese fan?
Provel.
Provel?
I am. Absolutely. I am.
So you like the emos?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wednesday night was I got to hang out with my nephews. It was a beautiful little thing. I went to my brother's house and saw both of my nephews, and we ate emos and we watched The Mandalorian.
I mean,
together.
you're allowed to like Provel on this podcast and not be.
Thank you.
Not be murdered in any way.
It's nice to be home and to be in a safe space where, So I've done that. So I went to so Hershey changed my life. Lived in Memphis for a few years, and then moved out.
Sorry, I'm gonna invest in a better mic stand.
That's all I'm going to talk about.
One thing at a time.
I got invited to be a podcasting. Can you believe the mic stand they gave me? It was I'm sure there's a model number on here somewhere. I'll find it. Anyway, I said Memphis, and then I've been out in Boston. I moved. It was December of. So I've been there about 18 months. So things are going great though. The place is beautiful. It is a complete 180 transition from Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah. Are you in what part of Boston are you in again?
So I was in Cambridge, and I just back in February moved in to Quincy. There's a Z at that word. Yeah. No, I got called out by the locals because I called it Quincy because that's how you say it. But then but somebody made it say it's Quincy, so it's a hard Z there. But there
is an actual Z in the word.
I don't know. It's not spelled with a Z, but it's pronounced with a Z. Just like
fair.
If you're up there,
as you do,
like Worcester and like Dorchester, like all of that, like they don't care how words are spelled. They just say it. So, but there's exciting developments. I met a woman while I was up there. Her name's Marie, and she's awesome. And we actually moved in together back in February.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Marie.
She'll be watching for sure.
Oh no, she also avid listener.
Oh really?
To the probably not. No, not at all.
Okay. I'm still messing with this.
No, you're fine.
That's how we did it.
There you go. Beautiful.
There it is. It's in the show. It's like I frame up the podcast right in front of the TV so we can actually use it. Oh, now it's gone away. So that's gone well. Dude, just stay on there. What's your freaking problem?
That's it.
There
All
we
you have
go.
to do is
okay, I think we got it now.
Perfect.
So we're doing this live, by the way, as we do. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
no.
we're streaming now on YouTube.
Wow.
I don't think anyone's. Oh, there's Rob. Rob just chimed in.
Rob.
I was just saying that. So like sometimes we get comments. We're kind of like completely unannounced podcast today. So for everybody listening, I guess kind of a brief history on Jon. So back to our intro.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Gambit Stratagem podcast. Jon Koehly's here with me today. Longtime on and off member. Yeah. Mostly on and then just off
I'm still
member.
a member in my heart. You know what I mean? I'm still one of that. So.
Of anyone who has been a member and remains a member in their heart, I feel like it's you.
I appreciate that. No, I came a long way.
And you were around for some big moments of ours, like big gym stuff.
Yeah.
Like you were there, I think, when Kelly made the games the first time.
I was there, and it was Chicago, and that was the year. So Alex LeChance, we had two girls qualify at the same. It was back when the top three took, and Alex took first, and Kelly took third, but didn't know that she had won, so she had literally walked off. That's a great moment, actually. So Kelly had been trying to make the games for years, and she was right
and
there
we
at the cusp.
brought in Alex was they got connected through First Form.
Yeah.
So First Form both sponsored them, and Kelly met Alex at a photo shoot or training thing or something, and was living in Arkansas and was just like, hey, I'm really trying to be good at this CrossFit thing. What's the deal or whatever? And Kelly was like, you should come up to St. Louis. And then it was like, oh, we've got a spare room in our house. You should just stay there. And so she did. And then they trained all year together.
Yeah.
And then Alex like couldn't have had a better draw of regional events. Like
yeah.
she's a phenomenal athlete. Don't
Absolutely.
misunderstand
Still
me, but couldn't have had a better draw of events. Hang snatch. She was really good at snatching,
And she-
like better so
the
than clean and jerk,
handstand walk.
and hang snatch specifically.
Yeah.
Really was a former gymnast, so like
Yeah.
really good at handstand
Yeah.
walking. And this was the year CrossFit decided we're going to throw out a couple curveballs and have a heavy overhead squat, heavy snatch event, and a handstand walk event. And it was just like she just breezed through
Yeah,
regionals. It
she
was
just
like
smashed it.
looked like an absolute rock star. So of course companies are just falling all over her trying to get.
Right.
She's immediately getting messages from Nike.
Yeah,
and,
I said she was a Nike athlete for a while.
and then they announced that Kelly didn't make the podium. So it was like gut wrenching after 5 years or so, 4 years of being super close to making it. Kelly doesn't make it again. So I'm back there giving her the crying hug deal. And then someone comes running over and they're like, there was a scoring mistake. You did make the podium.
I'll tell that same story from my perspective. There are we ran it up into that place deep. I remember we were on Navy Pier. I don't remember the name of the actual, but we were deep. And I remember like it was this Saturday, like you came out from behind a curtain and you walked up to me and you said, "Hey, really need you guys to tone it down." I remember that distinctly because at one point there was about 30 or 40 of us. The only person I can remember, Justin Mason, was there, and I know he's still a member.
Yeah.
And at one point, there in the stands, we had a bottle of Jameson going one way and a bottle of Three Olives Sherry going the other. So, but it's Sunday. We've been screaming and partying
In this,
and it was.
wait, was this at Navy Pier?
I think it's Navy Pier. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. It was in Chicago.
Yeah,
I remember that.
it was on Navy Pier.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got bottles of liquor into Navy Pier.
Literally, Tyler Higgins, who some of you might have met
Yeah.
at this mass match, he was walking around and he sounded like a liquor store because the bottles were just clinking in his backpack.
It was a different time,
It
folks.
was a different
It was a
time.
different time.
So
It's almost
you came
10
out
years
and you
ago.
were like, it was. And you came out and you're like, "Hey, you guys are doing great. Y'all need to tone it down." And I just like was respectfully, Andrew, no.
Yeah.
And we didn't. So,
I don't think anybody said anything to me. I was just like, man, I kind of, I don't know.
So anyway, so we've been partying, screaming all weekend, and going into that last event, Kelly was close. I mean, she was really close. And like she needed, she needed a good finish. And I remember like she had to beat like Tovar and like maybe Akinwale or something.
I think she needed to beat. I don't remember if she needed to beat specifically Elizabeth Akinwale, but she was there, and she needed to like take top 3 in this workout. It was
yeah,
and all it was like 8 or 10 super heavy overhead squats.
Yeah,
it was like 205 for the men or something, and like 145 or 155 for the females. It was like 8 overhead squat into 40 pull-ups or 45 pull-ups or something like that. It was numbers that are kind of like definitely not crazy even by those standards, but like pulling your overhead squat from the floor, getting it over. So it like needs to be fast and close to unbroken.
Yeah.
And Kelly just sent it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you watched other athletes. I remember that distinctly, like doing the squat snatch and like biffing it, and then and Kelly just got up. And like for Kelly, even today, she's always been that body weight athlete, and she's strong. She's very strong. But she I was just so proud of her. But so anyway, so she's doing great, and we know she did really well, and we all have our phones out. And we're like refreshing it, right, to see because she was like in 4th and she needed to beat. So who did she do it? Did she do it? And we can see her like downtrodden and defeated, like walking off. And just when that happened, it refreshed and she was in 3rd, and it was the final. And we all screamed at the top of our lungs, Kelly did it. And I remember talking to Kelly afterwards, and she looked over and she saw all of us, and she thought we were just like, we love you because you tried so hard. In actuality, like you made it to the games.
Yeah.
And it was just absolute bananas. It was a great time.
Man. Yeah, and I got to tell you, there's almost been no high as... Oh, speaking of Kelly, we were just talking about you. There's like no bigger high that I can recall than that whole night just being like, we just came out of nowhere having worked with Kelly so long and never having qualified to qualifying 2 athletes, which was, no one was doing that.
No.
and I was like, we look like flipping
We
rock
were,
stars.
I was an absolute snob.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
not talk to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great. And such a high. And then obviously like having focused on that with Kelly for so long, and then kind of finally achieving that goal, because she'd been so close,
Yeah.
like, multiple times, and we just kept thinking like, all right, we're gonna train a little bit harder, and then it was like 5th place, 4th place, whatever
This,
it
that,
was,
the other.
just always on the cusp. So huge.
I'm sure for that.
But what I want to
No, go ahead.
what I want to talk about is, because I think you're apt. Like, we could obviously sit here and just reminisce about
Sure.
old shit that nobody wants to hear about anyway. But what I want to hear about is like your opinion on, you've been to a lot of gyms.
Yeah.
Like, you've traveled, and I don't mean like necessarily being members, but you've dropped in a ton
well,
of
and
gyms.
that's the thing.
And
yeah.
we've talked about on the podcast and the update show or whatever with, I've talked with Sean and I've talked with Kelly and everyone about like what kind of sets certain gyms apart, in terms of like programming, coaching, all that kind of stuff. But what I want to talk about, I think, is the social aspect.
Sure.
Like, it's always been a weird piece of this thing, because I started the gym and it's like, I want to own my own business. Like, I want to run a business, right? Yeah. And I'd been a member of several different gyms over the years, but CrossFit specifically and CrossFit gyms tend to have this social, and it's why people like to call it a cult or whatever, because it's like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my gym friends. I'm going to work out with my gym friends.
Sure.
I'm going to stay after and talk to my gym friends, and then I'm going to a thing this weekend, and every social gathering you show up to seems to be like 90%.
Yeah.
Like, I went on a bachelor party in Belize last week, and there's like 15 or 16 guys there, and 14 of them go to the gym.
Yeah.
And it's always been kind of just an interesting piece of the puzzle. Like, when we have hosted our member appreciation gala in the past, which you've been a part of several times.
I'm told.
Yeah. Apparently,
the memories
allegedly.
are fuzzy. Yeah, right.
I always like usually give a talk there, and it's there's always a moment for me that seems weird, because I'm like, this is kind of weird. Like, we're here like having everybody come out and dress up, and it's like, it's a gym.
Sure.
But so I want your perspective on what do you think about that piece of the whole puzzle? Like, what does it mean to you, and what do you think is good or bad, or what are gyms doing well in that respect, and what are they not doing so well in that respect?
I think just human nature.
And for those listening, we didn't talk about this before. And
No,
I'm literally
not at
just
all.
putting
Not
John
at all.
on the
So,
spot
it's
for an
fine.
entire
It's
podcast.
fine. But no, I think that it's human nature to want to belong. And I think that as long as there's been people, to socialize with, people have found ways to not only disagree, but to bond, right? And the whole cult thing bothers me a little bit, because it's not so strange to have a bunch of like-minded individuals who spend a lot of time together to want to spend more time together, and that makes sense, and, it's just fitness, that whole fitness culture and social aspect is new, right? You look at people whose community is wrapped up in the church or work or things like that.
Sure.
That doesn't, strike anybody as strange or weird, but the fitness thing is new. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there's no trauma bond. I don't know if you've ever run the 2nd mile of Murph, but when you do that with other people, I mean, there's something there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that this is, especially in CrossFit, it's something that you do, again, with like-minded people who have that growth mindset, who want to get better, and being around people like that's infectious. And once you're around people who are constantly challenging you to be better, who genuinely care about you, who have that, that growth and I'm going to be better in mindset, like, those are the people you want to be around, man. So,
yeah, it's kind of like there's been a lot of, in my, like, I've been trying to pursue personally a lot of the concept of you're the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Oh, absolutely.
And like one of the concepts that pops up is like, if you want to be successful or wealthy, you need to find a way to hang out with people that are more successful and more wealthy than you are. And I think I've always been of a mindset like to not judge people on wealth or necessarily even success, just to try and judge them on character.
Right.
And I'm not to say that I'm no longer doing that, but it's kind of like, hey, if you have a goal, there's no shame in trying to associate with people that share that goal or have succeeded at that goal
Absolutely.
or surpassed that goal. And I think that applies to fitness and health and wellness too. Like, hang around with people that are where you want to be. And it's kind of like, it comes back to that conversation people always have about like, do I need to get in shape before I come to the gym or whatever? It's like, well, no, if you were in shape, you wouldn't need to come here. If you looked like Joel, you wouldn't need to sign up for this gym.
First off, side note, Joel is really good looking. Secondly, but that's how I've always explained it, is that when you work out next to, a Brian Sullivan, Joel, a Corey Anderson, Tuesday, was it Tuesday with the thrusters and the step ups? There was a gnarly workout, and I believe
it was Monday. I think.
Is that Monday?
It was Tuesday. Yeah, it was my
regardless.
first workout back.
Regardless,
from Billy's.
Yeah, and I had gone to the baseball game that night, then on Monday, so I was working on like hotel sleep, and my dinner the night before was a hot dog, a bratwurst, and 8 beers. So, but Corey and I, who we're close friends still, and we worked out right next to it, and I think that's a great example because Corey did more weight than I did in that workout, right? And when we were done, we were both completely smashed. Right. So that whole, I have to be in shape, somebody might have done, 5 pounds, 10-pound dumbbells, but they worked just as hard as me because that's where they're at. And that's the cool thing about it, is that you come together. There he is. And that's
Mr. Handsome right there.
Well, now I lost my train of thought. Anyway, but there's that connection there too, because when you're going as hard as you can and you're working together, and regardless, and nobody cares about your weight and things like that.
Yeah.
What's that old CrossFit saying? Is that no one cares if you scale, but everyone cares if you cheat. So so long as you're like loyal, and live your life.
I'm not sure I've even heard that before.
That's it.
But
well, there you go. Well, then let's put that on a
I like,
t-shirt.
it's kind of like Pat Sherwood's linchpin thing. He just has a shirt that says, "Nobody cares, train harder."
Yeah.
Similar.
I don't like that shirt because I do care. I do care. I care about your fitness. But
sorry, I'm literally skipping through footage of
Kelly in 2014 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I found it.
That's awesome.
So, let me see if I got screen share.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go. Sorry, I'll try and turn this.
No,
I need
you're
to.
good. You're good.
So one thing, the only thing we need here is we need to set this up so that like,
Oh my god.
we have so the people can watch it. But
Yeah. So they can't see this. Should I just describe it?
no, they can see it.
There's lanes.
They're watching this.
Akinwale took second, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
I don't remember. Kelly's in lane 5 here, but this is just like I thought it'd just be cool to scope this really quick for those that haven't seen it, because this is like.
What's that? 2014? What
This
year
is
was
2014.
it?
Yeah.
Golly.
So Alex is in first place, and we're going into the snatch event here.
Yeah.
But notice they just here's Akinwale just ripping 180.
Which back then.
This was a hang snatch too, and they were like
that short bar.
I think that's just a women's bar.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can't really see the
She's just a large athlete.
Well, and I remember that to say in 2014, like Akinwale snatching, a woman snatching
there's
180
Kelly there in
is
a gray.
just, it was
gray
just
shirt.
bananas.
Yeah. Well, and I remember when like Camille LeBlanc snatched 200 or 205. Like she was at the forefront of the snatching game back then, and when she snatched like 210 or 215, it was like mind blowing.
I printed those shirts. Like that shirt Kelly's wearing. Going back to the t-shirt guy, I made that shirt.
I wish we still had a few of those. There's Kelly right there, it's lining up. This is also like you had 15 seconds to snatch or something. Like the rules were really crazy. You had like 2 windows to snatch, and it was like you had 15 seconds, and I think they were like, if you drop it, you drop it. Like that's it. You don't get to pick it back up regardless of how much time is on the clock. It was a kind of a wacky. Yeah, there's Stacy Tovar.
Man.
Lifting something. There's Kelly about to go.
Sort of weight. I believe in you, Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Hets. Ooh.
Oh, hit it.
that.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know where I am at this time, but I think I'm back on the side
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'm back there somewhere drinking Jameson straight from the bottom.
I mean, this is still an impressive number, honestly.
What, 190? Yeah, for sure.
Almost 10 years later, 190.
Just crisp and clean.
Yeah, I mean,
no
she was
problem
a
at all.
beast.
She really was.
Such a good athlete. So yeah, we'd been going to this same place and kind of competing against some of the same people for years.
Mm-hmm. I remember having a personal vendetta against Stacy Tovar. I never met the woman. She might be the nicest person in the world, but she would always beat Kelly, and I just hated her.
Yeah, and you're like, when are you gonna just
will you please go
retire
somewhere?
or
Is
get
there
outta here?
nothing better you can do? Shout out Stacy Tovar. I'm sure you're listening out there. Whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and honestly, like most of those people were always pretty nice. There was a couple people that kind of kept to themselves or were a little bit rude, but even in the heat of things, I always found everybody to be super nice. And we've run into Stacy at the games and stuff. Well, we saw her there. Is that at the games or no? We saw her at semifinals last year, or the year before. Super nice, and like now, obviously, she's kind of retired from competing, and it's like now it's kind of cool to see Kelly come in and lock the dogs in here. Thanks, Kelly. Like they're not going to want to get out.
You should just give them a little headset. Headsets.
So what is? We've had the gala.
Yeah.
We have like Max Effort Mardi Gras, which is, let's be honest, a social event.
I just, I think I
under the
disagree.
guise
It's
of a
the
competition.
most premier crop, because I mean, it's one thing to be able to lift weights, but can you lift weights drunk? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you shotgun a bush while doing a handstand push-up? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can Stacey Tovar? Probably not.
Probably not. I don't know. I don't know what's in her heart.
Hopefully, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, so the social aspect for at other gyms had so.
What else are you seeing at other gyms? What have you? Is anybody doing anything?
There's
Tell
a
me
lot.
they're doing
There's
something.
a lot of this. So I don't know. I'm not here to.
Are they doing nothing?
I'm not here to throw it. Maybe I'm just not invited. Maybe that's why I like Gambit so much. Everyone's hanging out without me. But there's you have your Halloween parties, you have your Christmas parties. They're typically in the gym, and all of that, right? So there's always that.
And what's the attendance like? Is it big?
Good. The last Christmas party I attended, I was at CrossFit Boston when I was in Cambridge. I'm now at CrossFit 617, not since I moved to Quincy with a Z. We haven't done any, but one of the things that I really like about CrossFit 617, which is it's a great gym. I haven't been there long enough, but the coaching's good. The space is absolutely beautiful and immaculate and just packed with equipment. I never thought I'd go to a gym that had better swag than CrossFit Gambit. But they do all their printing, and I sent you a picture because they do all their screen printing in house and things like that.
Yeah, they're doing actual screen printing there
in house. It's a really, really cool stuff. One of the things that they do that's completely unique is that they actually have a pickleball league. So the floor of the gym is taped off for whatever the dimensions of a pickleball court are.
Oh, they do it in the gym.
They do it in the gym. It's
Okay.
it's a narrow space. It's kind of a shotgun space. It's longer than it is wide, but and they'll do that at night. And they do that. So the CrossFit 617, I believe they also have like a golf outing.
I got to be honest, I don't like this initial landing page on the website.
I'll let Pete know. I'll let Pete,
No, it's really cool. It just like
so. But yeah, so they do some cool things there too.
it kind of is going to give you seizures potentially. I've thought about trying to do like sports. Also, this group fitness thing, it looks like a link, but nothing happens when I click on it. So I got to be honest, John, their website.
Pete, we got to talk.
Leaving a little bit.
We got to.
Who did you leave? CrossFit Cambridge?
CrossFit Boston is where I was at.
CrossFit Boston.
So
I'm going to just spy on all your.
Yeah. CrossFit, their Instagram's probably a little bit better, but they recently went through some rebranding.
Oh, that's Erica Snyder. And Sam, well, they're married now, but
yeah.
and they have a child.
They
Kelly worked with them at Reebok.
yeah. Kelly actually
Super good
recommended that gym when I was there. So it was one of the things I went in there, and that was.
So you know Erica and Sam?
No, they. I don't believe they're a part of it. Their website needs to be updated. They've really recently gone through some rebranding and things like that. So
yeah, their website's
they
not
have
great.
updated,
Oh yeah,
but-
this is CrossFit One Nation in the
yeah.
background.
Well, they
is
were
what it says.
CrossFit One Nation, and they sold one of the. There was 2 gyms, and they were One Nation. So get it, we have 2 gyms, so we're one.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
He sold one of them, and so they became CrossFit Boston, and then
Okay.
the other One Nation, I believe.
And they have-
Invictus. I always say it wrong, but there's an
Invictus?
Yeah, there's one in Boston.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
like they bought it. So
Okay.
Kelly recommended CrossFit Boston, and I was in there. It was so great because you bounce around to these gyms, and some weren't that great, some weren't that bad, whatever is coaching. And there was I remember the first workout I did. Well, one of the workouts I did as a brand new member was.
Well, for reference, the team page is correct. They just still have photos on their landing
Working that
page
out.
of.
So I'm doing the workout, and it was 3 rounds of kettlebell swings, double unders, and then pull-ups, right? And so if you know me, I can swing a kettlebell with just about anyone, really solid at double unders, and I'll fight my way through the pull-ups, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't been training like I was, so things weren't all that great. So 3, 2, 1, go. I know I need to make up some time, so I go unbroken on this 20 swings at like a 70-pound kettlebell. So I set that down, and of course my heart rate's just jacked, right? So then I stumble through my dumbbell unders a little bit, finally get through like the 50 double unders or whatever it is, and by the time I get to the pull-up bar, which I know I'm going to kind of like lose some time, struggle a little bit, I'm just completely smashed. And there's 3 rounds of this, and this is round 1, right? And I'm like trying to fight through these 20 pull-ups.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? In my defense, all out is a pace. But so I finally get through these pull-ups, and I'm getting ready to start round 2, and I turn around, and there's the coach. His name was Kevin. And Kevin looked at me. He goes, "John, you're doing a great job." And he set down a lighter kettlebell in front of me, took away my 70, and he goes, "You're going to scale those double unders and those pull-ups." And he just, like, there wasn't, hey, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Hey, he was like, "Here's what you're going to do, because you're not scaling properly." And I was
Yeah.
like, I am in the right place. I love this.
Oh,
I was like,
I was going to say, do you like that?
yeah,
or?
well, I mean, that's the thing,
Yeah.
and that's what, that's what we're looking for. So
Yeah, you do. We talk about that as coaches all the time. Sometimes you got to just step in and say, this is what you should do. Because
Right.
ultimately, that's what you're paying for.
Right. Yeah.
You're paying for me to tell you what to do.
Right.
If we're just frank.
Right.
So, what is have you been to any social events at your current gym?
At my current gym, so the closest to that was the Open. So there was definitely.
How long have you been at your current gym? Sorry to interrupt.
So when I moved in February, I started there. So 2 months.
Sean and I looked back on one of our old update show videos or something, and one person commented, I don't know how this came up, but like one person commented, "LOL, guy on the right guy on the left keeps interrupting."
They're your microphones. You can do whatever you want. Like they're your microphones, so you can just.
It's
it's
not even
whatever.
a guy.
It's like, let me ask you a question. Here's how I feel.
I don't know if
that
you know
question
anything
I
about the
just asked.
corporate structure of our gym, but I'm the guy who gets to interrupt.
So
Sorry, so you've been at the gym how long?
about 2 months. So with the CrossFit.
Oh, okay. So
and
not long.
No, not long at all. But
So the fact that you haven't been invited to or seen a serious social event is not.
no, it's not uncommon. But you can tell there are things that are planned, and they're always working on things like that. We're in, So, but the Open was that, and that can be
So-
so you would work out,
for
and
sure.
like people would hang out.
They have a
and,
big
have
open
beers.
participation.
Yeah, just crazy. They had some good athletes there. People who were doing, they had some a team that went to Wadapalooza. Things like that.
Yeah.
So, but it was a situation where there was a cooler. It's a big glass cooler, and there's just Michelob Ultra in there, and you go right ahead. And to their credit, to a lot of these, especially in the Northeast, where people can, not the Midwest, where people are, hey, how's you doing? Tells your mother. That's they're they're a little bit more private people. People, hey, who are you?
Private's
what are you doing?
That's a nice way to put it.
Right? I've seen you around and talking, and we just have beers and hung out. So it's a really good vibe, and it's really good energy, and I'm really happy to be where I'm at. So,
Did you have Was there any social events at your previous gym?
So you got the Christmas party, the Halloween party. So
And they were just, what were they like? They were just in the gym?
Yeah.
And they just, what?
Yeah.
You just got together and drank in the gym? Or were there?
Yeah, and you just come over and you just hang out. And we had a woman by the name of Molly Moore who qualified for the games in a, I don't know, how do you say, the lower extremity.
Oh, yeah.
So
adaptive or whatever.
So the adaptive. She took second. And so she's a strong athlete. She's a rower at for Harvard.
Oh.
So she's getting her doctorate at Harvard, and on the side she's just like this. Her quads are bigger than mine.
Yeah,
and it's crazy, right?
That's awesome.
Super awesome. So and there was like some watch parties for her, and then like a big celebration for her when she came back. I've actually already known people who went to the games.
Yeah.
So
if you're just joining us, rewind to earlier in the podcast where we discussed.
If you're just joining us, where have you been? You're missing it.
So as a member, how is that an important piece of the puzzle for a gym?
I think it's a really important piece because as I said towards the beginning, I think it's just human nature to kind of want to belong.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that CrossFit Gambit does better is it makes people accessible, a little bit more humanized. And by that I mean this is that there's a rule at CrossFit Gambit, and I don't think it's a secret, but I don't know if everybody knows it. But there's a rule at CrossFit Gambit that if you're a coach, you have to take class at least once a week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you put yourself in the mind, and I think that you put yourself in the mindset of that I don't
even know if we have a number on it. It's just you have to take class.
You have to take class.
Like if I don't see you taking class,
so there's at other gyms, you'll go in and I don't know, you have your elite athlete, your fire breathers, right? And they're always in the corner doing their own thing. They're whatever, right? But if you take a class with a Joel or a Corey, a Kelly, an Andrew, Sean and John and whoever, like it humanizes them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're, monsters and they're doing more weight than me and all this other, but we got beat up together and, and you get that fist bump and that means a lot. And so that's something that you can kind of grow and expand that. And that's something that other gyms have opportunity on, I think. That if you're that person, if you have aspirations and whatnot, if you're that coach, you can reach out to the person who's new or that person who's still working with that training bar, and I think and kind of bring that together and just build that family. And I don't know what other word to use, but
everybody has kind of a different stance. I forget what I just heard recently where somebody was like, we don't like, it was like the word community, we don't like community, or we don't like something because it's like, it infers that we're in like just a social club or something. But it's like, man, whatever, call it whatever you want to call it.
You don't know.
But I think that humanizing effect you're talking about goes both ways a little bit, because we just had somebody tell Kelly recently after watching her do an open workout. I guess it would have been last year, so not that recent, but post CrossFit competitive retirement, but pre-pregnancy, say like somebody who's been a member for a pretty long time and has participated in like our competitor course, our competitor track multiple times, watch Kelly do a workout at the same time as her, and afterwards say, I haven't actually really seen you work out or like worked out with you or like done the same workout with you. I didn't realize just how fit you were. I knew you went to the games and everything, and like retirement, and that's something like you're an interesting person to talk to because you've been a part of this journey for a long time. We haven't realized a lot of members that are members currently like weren't there for that, and they just kind of think, oh yeah, well Kelly went to the games or whatever. They don't realize like just how humbling I think is probably and this person isn't like, I'm not going to name names. Like this person is not at all like a hot shot type person, but it's good for those people once in a while just to see like, oh, that's the level. Because now you might work out next to Brian or Joel or Corey, whoever, and think like, yeah, that person's super fit. And you're like, you don't understand where games athletes are.
So I have two notes about that. Number one, this a story I tell people when at gyms and about Kelly is one day Kelly was in class because she's a coach. She has to be in class.
Yeah.
And the workout was Cindy. And again, already talked a little bit. I know you look at the way I'm built and you think to yourself,
Yeah.
swimmer,
20-minute AMRAP,
distant runner. Yeah,
5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats.
And I'm next to Kelly, and I PR'd my Cindy. I had 13 rounds in 20 minutes. Super happy for that. Kelly got like 24, and was just like
Probably like 28.
it was a lot. She
She would have been nudging 30.
and she never stopped moving. And at the same time, she was over the moon for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I was like, and that means a lot, and that's
Yeah.
a humanizing thing. But I think one of the things, an advantage Gambit has over other gyms, is there's no doubt who the alpha is here, right? And I mean that with all the love in the world. Like, so
Yeah.
you go to other gyms, and like, I don't want to, like, again, I've loved my time everywhere I've
Yeah.
gone. Everyone can be better, but you go to some other gyms, and I've talked a little bit already about the special people, or they're in the corner, they're doing whatever because they're special, and I watch them move, and I see the way they move, and it's not,
Yeah.
and they're not that level.
You
fit.
can recognize that.
So like, but
Yeah.
like Kelly hits, like, she's on the top there, and it flows down from her, like those standards and all of that, and
Yeah.
it breeds for a better experience, a better gym overall. So,
There's a I feel like there was always a little bit of that at like your traditional gyms when people were just like training for size or whatever, like aesthetics. And it was kind of like a little bit of I don't know, it just always seemed like there was a little bit of a vibe of like who's who's the alpha, so to speak. But there was like so many differences of opinions on like, well, that's not the body I want. Like, this guy might be the biggest guy in the gym, but like I don't really aspire towards that, so he's not an alpha to me. And then you get the other guy who's like a kind of skinny, muscular guy who's good at calisthenics and all that kind of stuff. And it's like there were so many different like mindsets, and in CrossFit, it's just like, no, the leaderboard is the leaderboard,
right.
And that's the end of it. And we've dropped in at CrossFit gyms. We're like, we're usually pretty careful to be like, not just be like, yeah, we own and operate a gym, whatever. Even when Kelly was training for the games, it was like, we would only bring that up if we were like, hey, is it cool if we kind of do our own thing? Like, I don't want to put you guys out. And if you say no, like, we totally understand. Like, we're going to take class, but like, we've got some weightlifting to get in, like Kelly's training to prepare for the games or whatever it is. And, 100% of the time they'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely. But I hate, like, it's one of our pet peeves when people come in like, oh, I'm following this program, I got to have special accommodations, whatever. It's like, well, we're not really the right gym for that. But we've dropped into gyms too, where especially now, like post Kelly's post kind of competitive career, we'll drop into a gym, and we don't, you don't go in and be like, oh, Kelly's a former games athlete, whatever. Seminar staff coach and all that stuff. You're just like, yeah, we're just in from St. Louis. Like, we own and operate a gym there, and people are always super, super nice and welcoming, but you can tell there's some athletes in there who are like locally good, and they got a little bit of this.
Sure.
They're kind of, like you said, they're in the corner doing their own thing or whatever, and they'll pop into class, and I'll mop the floor with 90% of them, and then Kelly mops the floor with 100% of them.
Right.
And then you can tell there at some point they're like, hey, what do you like? You're pretty fit. What are you doing? Oh yeah,
it's like, I mind my own business.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
And there's kind of like, so, and I think that's, and not to like toot our own horn, but I think that's a really important aspect of any sport. So just like, it goes back to you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Like, you want to know what that top tier is. You need to be around that top tier. You can't just go mop up some local competitions and stuff and think you're, oh, the fittest in my gym, I'm somebody.
Right.
Like, you're not anybody.
Right.
In
you're not. And you gotta try. And in the
scheme of things.
I was telling.
And also, Kelly's best finish was like 25th at the games. Right. So like, you're still nobody.
Right. For the record.
Yeah. Just to be clear.
But I think that's one of the things that when it just comes to straight programming, that's an advantage that Gambit has. I was telling some people earlier in the week about that. Is one of my favorite things. One of the things that no other gym I've gone to does, that Gambit does about once or twice or every 2 weeks or so, is that the program for the workout will be send it. It will be melt your face off. When you're done, roll around on the ground and question your life decisions. And I think that kind of raises that level too. There's a lot of strategy around how not to hurt too much sometimes. And what is that old saying that there's so many people tiptoe through life so they can arrive safely at death. You know what I mean? They never want to feel uncomfortable. But that
Never
goes
heard
back
that
to-
saying
yeah,
either.
There you go. That's two T-shirts. Bam.
Yeah.
Adding value. But I think there's a lot of that, and I think that's part for me why Gambit will always be, my home gym, is because you push that growth mindset and try and that's part of it, right? Because I do CrossFit because I want to do hard things, not because I want, and
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little,
Yeah, and I think that's
got a little heavy there.
No, I mean I'm very curious about that, because as the person who's in charge of the gym and is kind of responsible for spearheading social events, competitive events, all these little things, I'm always looking for how can we serve our membership base better? Right. What are they looking for out of it? And that's why the topic of the social aspect of the gym occurred to me, because you're a pretty social guy.
Oh yeah, yes, that is me. I like talking to people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty great.
Yeah.
But
I was I love digging into that. Like I kind of opened with the thing with the gala. It's I go through kind of a conundrum every time we host a gala where I'm is this dumb? Do people think this is dumb?
So cool. I
that
still
it's
have the
just
trophies I've won. I literally, they still sit on my desk. I had.
That's great.
What did I win? I won the Spirit of Gambit. I won most improved and most welcoming, I think. And I have
that all checks
those.
out.
Nothing about being a good athlete.
Yeah.
But he says hi to people.
We had historically have not done a class clown award, otherwise you might have 4.
Right, there we have it. But no, I know. I'm a 42-year-old man, and I still have those trophies sitting on my desk.
Yeah, and because it's a unique thing, and ultimately, when I think about the gala, I'm who wants to pay extra money to get dressed up and come out and have some drinks and or dinner with people they already see 4 or 5 days a week and listen to me talk.
Apparently about 150, 200 of your members, because it's always a thing. The best part of the gala, is seeing women who you never see with their hair down, and you're like, And then
who is that?
And then there's the fun game of morning member or significant other. I've never seen you before.
Yeah.
Are you a 5:30 person or oh no, I'm actually married to Stacy.
Or evening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right. So
whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and ultimately I always kind of come back to the concept of this is a unique business.
Yeah.
A unique thing it's kind of you're in the business of you're in the people business.
For sure.
A lot of businesses are in the people business, and whether they know it or not.
Right.
So it's whatever you're doing to keep people engaged, and that's one of the most difficult parts of from either side of things. It's one of the most difficult parts of being in this business. Anybody that kind of deals with, I always say it's difficult for a lot of times gym owners, personal trainers, coaches to put a dollar of value on their time, because we got in this business to help people. And it's really easy to just start giving away all your time for free. And then before you know it, you're I make $7 an hour and I work 60 hours a week and my gym's barely getting the bills paid. Right. And we've had not a lot, in retrospect, very little pushback on what we do and don't charge money for and how much we charge for it, because we try to make sure we're providing a really good value. But no one questions a attorney when they're yeah, I'm $250 an hour, I'm $300 an hour. No one, they're yeah, it's expensive, but hey, that's an attorney. But then they come in,
that's what it costs, right?
And when somebody wants to pick your brain about how to get better at pull-ups after class for 30 minutes, they don't expect a bill for that.
Right.
So I already pay a membership. So, and I think it's do you think you at least at one point in time lost quite a bit of weight?
Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest weight loss achievement?
Oh man, for that I was when I walked in the CrossFit Gambit the first time ever, I was 309.
Whoa, really?
309. I remember that. I remember that distinctly, because it wasn't 310. Because 310, now you're in the teens. but like
Then you're-
09, I mean,
then
that's
you're
like,
overweight.
I skip lunch and it's
310
fine.
is just crazy.
Well, it just goes back, right. Like, let's back it up. But so I was one of those people. I've been a big man my entire life, and that's just how it is. And as I get older, I realize that there's some reasons I eat the way I do, but we don't need to get into that. I don't need to unpack that here on the podcast. Keep it light. But I played collegiate football, right?
Yeah.
And so I was always like into that.
needed
like,
some
and,
mass.
Like, it was big, and I eat, and
Yeah.
that's what we do. And you need to be big. And then one day I woke up and I was just like, oh my God. And that's actually how I got into Gambit. I was just living in Soulard and I just walked in, whatever. So I got down, the fittest I've ever been in my life, even when I was playing ball, was probably the last 5 or so months before I moved. I was down to about 235.
Okay.
And, that was, that was bar muscle ups were happening. They weren't consistent, but it wasn't like a magic trick if I got one.
It's about 70 pounds.
Yeah.
And for
Sorry,
anyone,
answer the question you asked. Sorry. I'm worried.
well, I'll tell you what I'm getting at in a second. Not to interrupt
you're
you
fine.
or
Of
to
course.
interrupt you, whatever. I don't care.
It's my microphone.
And we'll wrap it up
Sure.
shortly. So you got a plane to catch.
Yeah. Well, we have.
Yeah. But as an aside, anyone who doesn't think like or doesn't fully understand the significance of that, I have a 45-pound weight vest, and I've done Murph in it before. It's a tremendous amount of weight. Like, go put on, and I always tell people, like, I have a weight vest that adjusts lightly, and if you have any, like a traditional like plate carrier, like a men's plate carrier carries 10 pounds in the front, 10 pounds in the back. Grab one of those plate carriers if you think you could stand to lose some weight, and you're kind of like, I'm not good at certain things, how do I get better? Or just like, you need some impetus to really lose the weight, go put on a plate carrier and just put one plate in there.
Yeah.
You're not 10 pounds heavier than you were, and try to go do anything. Do a pull-up, do a push-up, do any of these things, and just feel the significance, and then think, could I lose 10 pounds?
Yeah.
Because there are millions of people, there's probably thousands of people in your direct circle that you encounter day in and day out that could stand to lose 10 pounds and would readily admit they could stand to lose 10 pounds. Probably more, probably 20 pounds is not uncommon. People I've talked to people like, how much weight do you think you could stand to lose? So losing 70 pounds is like a massive
It was a big deal.
amount of weight. But what I was getting at is, how important do you think the social aspect then becomes of like going out and meeting up with gym people, meeting up with somebody like Brian Sullivan, who you know is a fitness fanatic, works for a candy company,
Right.
Seems to be in some ways set up to fail, but it remains to be one of the fittest people we have in the gym.
Right.
So I guess like, do you find value in like hanging out with people like that outside the gym and seeing how their lifestyle works, and
I mean, just absolutely. And you can always
going to a Christmas party and seeing who's stuffing their face with the cookies and who isn't.
Right. Well, there's that, but like, you struck the nail on the head when you said it's all about the people you associate with the most, and like, who do I want to be? And and that's one of the great things about CrossFit and that social aspect. When you have those friends you see at the gym every day and you don't show up for 2 days in a row, Brian Sullivan will shoot you a text.
Yeah.
Where you been? You okay?
Yeah.
Like, or just and things like that, or like, coming home and say Corey and I, we're still friends, and I'm still friends with a lot of people. Corey and I talk, and hey, when are you going to the gym? We'll coordinating our days so we can work out next to each other. I mean, that's it. So all of that social aspect enforces coming to the gym and being that healthy person and being the best version of yourself. So.
Well, when you come into the gym, I'm one of the last people to find out. I think I'm exaggerating, but it's like, I'll hear it from Corey or Brian before I hear, which is cool. It's like, that's, I think there's a lot of people out there, trying to micromanage the experiences people have within their gym or their business, whatever it is. And it's like, man, if you really want your business to succeed, it needs to stand on its own 2 legs.
Yeah.
And you need to have people that have no skin in the game reaching out to you to ask you where you've been.
Right.
So what what is it to them? It's not another dollar in their pocket.
Right. Well, but that's the community that you talk about, right? And that's
Yeah.
all of us striving to grow together.
Yeah. So what I guess to wrap up a little bit, what is, if someone's listening that owns a gym and they're not sure how to approach the social aspect of their gym, what are like 3 things that you're like, okay, so let's assume they've got all the business aspect dialed in. Let's, obviously when I read a book on how to successfully run a gym or a business, it's like, narrow it down to your one thing. And for us, I've always said, like, coaching is our one thing. Like, if we had to strip down every other aspect of our business and focus on one thing, what is the one thing we can't do without? And it's the coaching. Because we can get programming from anywhere. It's how we deliver that coaching, how we interact with our members. We don't have to sell T-shirts. We don't have to sell Kill Cliffs or whatever. But we have to coach. And that's one of the reasons we were able to survive the COVID lockdown relatively unscathed, was because we decided we're going to continue to deliver coaching via Zoom or whatever, just because that's what we do. And if we can't survive on that, we don't deserve to survive. So assuming everybody's got everything, you got a gym who's got everything dialed in, like they're running their business, and they want to improve on the social aspect of the gym. What are like 3 things that you think, hey, these have been my best, the things that got me the best results or made me feel the best about a gym? Is it a Christmas party? Is it the open?
I think that I think you don't have to wait for it to be Christmas. We can we can get together.
Holiday parties. Generalize and say holiday parties or whatever.
What's what I'm saying is that, like, it doesn't have.
Don't even wait for a holiday. Just have a party.
I know for a while there before I left, Murph became a thing where we stopped doing Murph on Monday. We did it on Saturday because people have to go to work on Tuesday. So Saturday after Murph, we can hang out and, like, have a barbecue, things like that. Make sure your members interact with each other, man. Like, you kind of even work that a little bit. I don't expect anyone else to remember this, but I remember when I was a relatively new member, we had a partner workout, and you and the coach, it might have been you. You had to draw a card. And you had to match up, and whoever you got, that's your partner.
Yeah.
And I ended up being a partner with the fittest guy in the room and some crazy kid whose name was Tyler Higgins. Yeah. And that's how I met Tyler Higgins. We did a partner Jackie together, and that's how I met Tyler. And I had a green band around my foot and doing pull-ups, and he would rip his butterfly. But that was great. And I think, being that accessible, humanize yourself.
Yeah.
Be around. Let people know that they care and that they can count on you there as well. So I don't know that it takes a whole lot, right? For me, you mentioned earlier, I'm a sociable guy. It doesn't take much. It takes a parking lot and a case of beer for me to have a good time, and that's it. So you don't have to overthink it. Hey, we want to get together and celebrate the open, and that's all it does. So make an effort, humanize, and interact with your members.
Cool. Anything else you want to add to our topic?
No, man. It's just
you got plans to come back to St. Louis anytime soon?
Yeah, well, I hope. I think I got actually, funny enough, an old member, Jen Tussey.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting married in June. So
really?
I think I'm coming home for that. So
yeah, she started. She found a man and just ghosted the gym.
Well, I mean, why else are we working
Jen.
out? I mean, you're just trying to find something.
We've seen it before. We'll see it again.
I got
started dating somebody who's
right.
2 surefire ways to lose a member is get them into a relationship where one of them doesn't do fitness or does a different type of fitness, or get them like we see a lot of people just ghost after pregnancy. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, it's almost like having a newborn child takes up your time.
Yeah. So
who would be stupid enough to have a baby, Andrew?
In this economy,
like in this economy, that's a terrific way to stay in shape.
All right.
So,
well,
awesome.
John, thank you so much for joining us.
No, man, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
I think you've been on the podcast before.
This is
the old podcast.
Yeah, this is the only thing I remember about it was that Josh Nemo was on like the week before, and I made a comment that the microphone smelled like his beard. That's all I remember about it. Shout out to Josh Nemo. Yeah, CrossFit 618.
Metro East.
CrossFit Metro East. That's it. That's it.
We'll get Josh back on here sometime.
Good
all
to
right.
do that, Josh.
Well, John, This has been Jon Koehly. I've been Andrew Essig. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll have you back on in another 8 years.
Can't wait.
See you guys next time.